Your presence has awakened somebody with this dreamer energy. And I'm hearing, who are you? So it feels like this is an ancient soul contract. The phrase coming through is soul covenant. So something that has the makings of a very sacred and divine partnership. It feels like this is somebody that you were supposed to awaken and take certain steps on your life journey prior to encountering and meeting this individual, so that you could shed layers of yourself and activate others in order to come to the right frequency inside of you, so that when you crossed paths with this person, when they caught a glimpse of you, something within their soul would be able to remember you, not based on how you look physically or, the life that you're living in the here and now, but this is like a past life connection. Somebody that like once upon a time had said, I will find you again. I will meet you again in the future. We will see one another again. We'll have a chance to get things right. Or I want to love you again. I want to love you for longer this time. And so this is that person that you have finally encountered. It feels like this person is in the midst of going through some kind of a spiritual awakening at this point. This is somebody that probably had little to no background or knowledge about the concept of spirituality. They may have been someone that came from a very religious background or religious upbringing, so that is their concept. That is kind of like the basis of their world view in terms of like human reality and the divine. Now you've come into this person's life and it has tossed a lot of those beliefs upside down. This person is starting to question everything they thought they knew about themselves, the universe, their place in it, how love factors into that. And this is all thanks to something within your energy, within your presence, within your aura, that has essentially tapped this person on the shoulder, metaphorically speaking, and has told them, very relatively speaking, gently, like it's time to wake up. This is somebody that it feels like their process of awakening, what they're experiencing at this time, they may be going through an ascension, having a lot of ascension symptoms, which may be very difficult for them to process, may be very difficult for them to understand. This person may be in hermit mode at this particular point in time, or in context to you, it feels like they're almost just sort of standing in an observer position and hearing, I can't move forward. So there's almost like this person needs to kind of be upgraded in some sort of way before they're able to take a step forward towards you. But relatively speaking, this is almost like a gentle awakening compared to something that you've gone through, because you were supposed to be the one to kind of lead this person beyond that energy of sleep, like a part of them inside, a part of their soul that was just like dormant, almost like it was cryogenically frozen, and has now been activated, has now been brought to the surface, is now awakened in this current timeline, in this manifestation of themselves in conjunction to you, and a partnership that it feels like is supposed to develop. The makings of like a dream come true or a wish come true, but it's something that is not just like we meet and the stars totally aligned and then it was, happily ever after. It was all bliss from that point forward. There's like a process of being prepared or, like debriefed or catching up in some sort of way, like catching up for lost time between the two of you, that in some way this is part of this person's like spiritual awakening, their ascension journey at this particular point in time, that has been brought into the here and now thanks to the fact that you have crossed paths with them. We got the sigil keeper. So it feels like this person is seeing a lot of signs and synchronicities, angel numbers. They may be getting downloads. Maybe they're aware of concepts like their higher self for the first time. This could be somebody that at the most they would have been like, yeah, there's angels, or I know I have a guardian angel. This may have been somebody that just kind of like thought of, God in a very just sort of basic or kind of a generic sense. And they're now starting to even question, like, well, what does that mean? What does that mean in relation to me? This could be somebody that had even kind of like no religious views, or they had turned away from that completely and were just focused on like scientific reality, logic and materialism, and sort of like, I'll believe it if I can see it. And now what is coming into their reality are all of these apparent things, and also all of these things that may be very like otherworldly, kind of spooky, things that are very hard to explain from just like a matter of fact sense, or in the context of a religious upbringing and background, or even like the absence of that totally, that is causing this person to have to do a lot of research, to think outside of the box, to expand their worldview in some sort of way. And it feels like in the process of that searching for answers, taking in information, regardless of if these are things where they're like taking in concepts, or, just kind of asking those deeper questions of why. And even if it's just like, okay, now I'm informed about that. Now I'm aware that this is how some people think. This is an opinion. This is a view. This is a possibility. This is kind of like a potential. It's something about getting those wheels turning inside of this person. Their awareness being brought to things beyond just sort of the material and the here and now. That is this process of this dormant part of them activating. It's like an engine that has turned on and is sort of warming up inside of them, that is able to acknowledge, or even for the first time kind of recognize themselves as an energetic being having a material experience, as a spirit having a human experience, and looking at the world and living their life through that lens, something that is beyond just personal identity. This person may start, even at this point, kind of like looking into the concept of past lives. They may be doing some past life regressions, past life journeying, or they're getting a lot of downloads and like visions, hearing vision quests. So for some, this is a person that is like taking this very seriously, this sort of spiritual pursuit. And they're not just kind of satisfying themselves, sort of like, well, what can I find on Google about all these things? This is somebody that, is moving very much outside of the box, outside of traditions that were normally accessible to them, to find answers, to build kind of a language that sort of explains what it is they're experiencing, to seek to decipher what it is about like themselves in conjunction with you in this connection that feels so familiar, even though they like just met you for the first time. And even like a brief meeting with you has activated something within them where they can't just kind of sit still and like, okay, this was intense, this is profound, this was kind of like interesting, this was noteworthy. Now let me just go about my life. Let me just go about my day and be unbothered. This is somebody that is like trying to gain more information, trying to gain more footing, trying to kind of like acclimate to whatever it is happening to them energetically, spiritually at this particular point in time. And they're able to trace that back to the intersection with you. This is somebody that wants to follow those signs in your direction. They want to move forward towards you, but there's a sense of almost kind of like they're walking on the moon when it comes to that. They'd love to just rush towards you. They'd love to run in. They'd love to sweep you off your feet. But it's slow. It's a slow process of being able to kind of like get their wits about them, get their full senses, get all of their energies harnessed and in alignment in order to not just be an observer in your life, not just keep their feelings kind of cloaked or hidden if you have interactions with one another. It feels like this person is observing you a lot. They're either in your presence and they're kind of just like a stable presence. They're very calm, they're very silent, they're very stoic. And this is not because they fear the nature of what they're feeling or that they have a hard time expressing their feelings, but it's like the words won't come out as far as you are concerned. And there's a part of them that knows it's kind of like, I'm going through some sort of upgrade, some sort of preparation process. There's a part of me that is kind of like coming online or coming more into my conscious and kind of driven sort of faculties that allows me to be very present in your energy and to speak on my desire to take things to the next level. For others of you, this is somebody that just kind of like watches you from afar. They keep a very close eye on you because there's a sense of almost like something within you has like turned a key within them that has unfastened a lock and has opened a door where now there are so many things that are possible for them as a person, or so many questions that they have, or so much that has changed about them, like energetically, which ripples out into kind of emotional changes, spiritual changes, maybe even material changes that this person is inclined to make in their life, even just in terms of like what they do with their spare time. It's no longer filled with just kind of like distractions or, things that are like not good for them or just kind of like wastes of time. It feels like this person uses a lot of their free time at this point to invest in kind of their spiritual self, into their spiritual journey. New habits have formed. Old connections have been kind of stepped away from. They may be cultivating a new community around them. It's like a different version of them that is gestating at this particular point in time. Their whole energy signature is changing because they're coming into some kind of attunement or alignment with you. And they're able to very consciously kind of look towards you as sort of like a point on the horizon that they are moving towards, but it feels like there's kind of an equal measure of sort of frustration that they can't move quicker, and a process of kind of like trust that it's like, okay, I have this desire. The fears that I have, they're not substantial enough to limit me. So it must be something kind of greater than that that is creating like a methodical process forward. Not a delayed process, but something that just requires them, to adjust their steps like they're walking on the moon. And they can't just, run forward towards you. It's got to be something slow. It's got to be something gradual. And so they're checking in with themselves or coming into that place of acceptance within themselves, like to bridge that gap between where they are and where you are, not just physically, but like energetically speaking. That's something that there's almost like no control over. This is somebody that might even be kind of coming to the understanding of the idea of divine timing for the first time and reconciling that with kind of like a desire for something more versus like urges within them or an inability to kind of speak, or fears that surface that kind of have caused them to sort of slow their pace with you in some sort of way that are not necessarily obstacles, but it's almost seen as kind of something that is, softening kind of an impulsivity within. This person sees that it's almost like they want to merge with you, and that's not something that happens through force. It's not something that happens through this kind of like stumbling into one another, although you might have stumbled into one another's lives. You might have taken one another by surprise. It could have been like, an experience of serendipity that you connected. And so to balance that out is almost this more methodical approach where there's parts of them that come into this awareness, come into this state of awakening, or are more aligned with like an enlightened version of themselves, a remembered version of themselves from ancient times, from past lives, that fits in with kind of the choreography of something about you. This is somebody that feels almost like it's destiny or it's fate. You're fated to be together, but in order to reach that place in the story where that alignment happens in the here and now, this is somebody that's like, okay, I'm in my process of becoming. And the more I trust in that, the more I am active in my process with that, the more I go with the flow or recognize that in a large way, there's almost kind of, it's something that's beyond the element of choice, whatever's been activated within. It's like a mechanism. It's an instinct almost. And to wrestle with that, how the ego must be still, because this kind of higher consciousness is sort of beamed into themselves, or they're aware of it in some way. They're able to see from that bigger perspective, and learning to kind of navigate their life through that lens brings this person closer to an understanding of what's possible with you, for the two of you, the type of love story that can happen. Not something ordinary, but something that is definitely like of a divine current, or something next level. Yeah, we have the life bringer. So you have definitely like activated this person's heart chakra. They've had a heart chakra opening or awakening. It feels like this is the most profound way that this person sort of was clued in from their subtle self of like, yeah, this is something different. This is something unique. This is like love at first sight. But the echo of that extended far beyond just this material version of them. It's like feeling that brought an awareness of, we've had that experience of this love at first sight before. My heart knows you. My soul knows you. I know you from somewhere. And as they've searched through that, do you remind them of someone? Have you crossed paths with one another before? Are you, that kind of like dream person here in the flesh? As they've sifted through all those possibilities and options, the only place that they have come to where like answers potentially exist are beyond the realm of this particular existence. And so it is through that echo chamber of like their heart chakra that this person is perceiving like a portal or a doorway through which they are led, and through which they are choosing to walk, choosing to journey, choosing to seek answers or listen for the truth, because it feels like a lot of that truth doesn't just come from the higher self, it comes from deep within. It emanates, it radiates from within that heart chakra. It's a layer of truth that they weren't able to even fathom or perceive until they cross paths with you. And this is somebody that is like very excited to kind of get to the stage in themselves, or, kind of level out within some sort of ascension journey or process of awakening, where they can come towards you, where they can explore these feelings or this curiosity or these desires openly. And this is somebody that wants to talk about these things with you, wants to talk about these experiences. They don't just want to keep that to themselves. They want to ask you, they want to speak about this. Like, are you feeling this too? Are you having these shared experiences? If you have gone through a process like this before I, was even on your radar as a person in the world, could you sense me? What did you feel? What was that like for you? This person feels very grateful to almost like have you to look towards, or your energy to kind of like feel into. They may feel your energy around them a lot. You may come to this person in dreams, or they're able to connect with your higher self very easily through meditation. And there's a sense that you're providing them a lot of reassurance. You're holding space for this person because you have up-leveled in some way that represents kind of like something they are reaching towards, almost like when a plant grows towards sunlight. You are that essence of what they are growing towards, energetically speaking. Not in the sense of kind of like, if I put in this work, if I evolve as a person, then I can match your frequency, I can be on your level. But there's almost an inevitability, like that's the spot for me. That's my place, is by your side. And so you holding that frequency of light for them is giving them some sort of direction to move in. It's like you are that map of the stars that they are navigating through, like a nighttime energy, not like dark night of the soul, but something that's almost like beyond their experiences. It's out into the unknown. You mitigate a lot of this person's fears, and maybe even like people's fears. You may be somebody that at this point in time in your journey, you're activating a lot of people. You're awakening a lot of people. Your frequency is so high or so clear or so precise or so pure that people can't help but to be moved or shifted inside of themselves when they encounter you. And this, in addition to kind of like, people in general, that it may be part of like purpose or, some aspect of your soul contract in the here and now to kind of like perform this function of awakening, being an awakener for certain individuals who will then, go about their own process, their own life, navigating that journey. In addition to that, the concept of that, there is somebody romantically that you are supposed to have like an experience of love with. This can be that counterpart energy, that high level soulmate energy. For some, this is a dormant soulmate. You made certain choices. Other people made choices, and then you chose to heal in the aftermath of that for things that might have felt very like aligned soulmates or soul connections, that somebody else or other people were like, I don't choose to honor that. I choose to do something else. I refuse that call. I won't follow through with that. That then redirected the nature of like both your lives, like people from the past. Something that because of your choice not to just sort of shut down or become embittered, but to do what you could with what you had in the circumstances you found yourself, and to reach beyond that into the direction of like, okay, I still believe in this higher level love. I still believe in that divine love. I still believe that I didn't come this far in my life and in my journey for nothing. That it has, the encounter with this individual has activated something where they are not just a person you were supposed to meet, cross paths with, or that they were like supposed to see you from afar, and something within you opened or awakened something within them, but it also brought up from the depths, from the realm of possibility into the here and now, this kind of activated soul contract between the two of you, where now this person has this opportunity with you. And even though they feel it's destined or fated, it's a free will zone, this material world. So until they arrive in that right frequency, until the actions align with that higher potential, there's no guarantee. But this is somebody that is definitely growing in that direction very actively. They're actively participating in working with this call that has sounded out inside of them. Their heart is open, their heart is in full bloom, and they trace that back to the experience of you, the existence of you. And as much as this is kind of feeling out into the unknown, they're not pulling away. They're trying to move towards you as quickly as possible. But their higher self, their spirit team, your higher self, your spirit team, the divine, is necessitating, or it's like the only way forward into this kind of love story come to fruition is through this process of this person ascending as an energy, ascending as a being, ascending as a material person. And this is somebody that is motivated to continue to go through this process, as uncomfortable as it may be at times, as overwhelming as it may be at times. It's like, this is worth it. You're worth it. This is the adventure of a lifetime. This is something this person never even thought was possible. It's like this person's mind is blown on a daily basis. You're like, I want more. I want to be in your life. I want us to talk about these things openly. I want us to connect on that level. I want to experience love of that higher grade, of that higher frequency, of that higher level of purity. And so I'm rising beyond kind of the toxicity and the limits within myself. I'm allowing myself to be pulled beyond those things so that I can meet you at that kind of higher experience, and we can walk forward into this journey of a more profound love than either of us has ever known, but that they feel is something that'll be almost like remembered. You've had a taste of that in previous lifetimes. And so they don't see that it's an accident that you've encountered each other in the here and now. It's kind of like, okay, here we go again. And they're very excited when they think about that. When they think about that love inside of them, that feeling inside of them, it feels only right or only natural to continue to reach for you. And at this point, they're reaching for you through that heart space. So you may be feeling this person's energy a lot. There may be telepathy between the two of you at this time. Something that is very conscious on this person's part. Like they recognize that as an open channel between the two of you, even while, their material self is kind of struggling to sort of catch up with this energetic self. They're very focused in your direction. They're very focused on, seeing this through to a place where it's like, I can step towards you. I can stand in the light with you. I can love you openly, and I can allow myself to be loved openly by you as well on this higher octave of experience. So those are your messages. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. Like or comment to claim these energies. Subscribe to my channel if you would like to see more content that I put out here. Don't forget to hit the bell button to get notifications every time I post a new video. And if you would like to book a personal reading with me, I offer those through my Etsy shop, and there's a link for that below. I hope to see you again in another reading. Please take care and be well.